Get ready for your weekly dose of pixie dust with Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, welcome to Disney Coast to Coast. I'm Jeff DePaoli.
And I'm Patrick Dougall.
And today we're going to be talking about the fact that Disney kind of had two of the best movies in its history at the end of last year, 2013. They had Frozen and Saving Mr. Banks, which I don't know. Do you think
good?
Yeah, like, do you think that that's an exaggeration at all, saying it's two of their best films?
Well, I would say no.
No, I really liked them. Which one do you want to start with today, Patrick?
Frozen.
Okay. I had a feeling you'd say that.
It came out first. We gotta start with that.
It came out what?
It came out first.
Yeah, well, it keeps coming out first for, like, ever.
Yeah.
The Oscar noms just came out. It just won the Golden Globe recently. Oscar noms came out, looked like it has
for Best Animated Feature, not Best Song.
Well, it was nominated for Best Song.
Well, yeah, but it won for Animated Feature. But
you're saying at the Golden
Best
Globes.
Song.
Yeah.
Sad
Yeah.
face.
Well, the fact is, though, I mean, personally, I feel like a different song should be pushed for the awards. They keep pushing Let It Go. I do not think that that's the strongest song in the movie. What do you think?
It's definitely the most catchiest, I would say.
See, I actually disagree. I think Do You Want to Build a Snowman is super catchy, although I don't think nomination, I don't want to say nomination worthy, because I actually think it's a really brilliant song. I just think that the way that it's like chopped up makes it hard to nominate, if that makes any sense. If you actually listen to it, it's a very chopped up song and it's cool, but I think For the First Time in Forever is super catchy. Much better performance, and I think that should be the one being pushed for awards.
Yes and no. I mean, personally, my favorite is First Time in Forever, but I think in terms of audiences and everyone, and in terms of Broadway in general, Idina Menzel is a huge key factor into the play of the song.
Yeah, but do you think that there were the best choices made? This is going to get a bit nasty here. I think it's bad casting, personally.
It's so close to her regular, I wouldn't say regular roles, but Elsa and Elphaba from Wicked are the same person.
The story is very similar to Wicked.
Misunderstood Powers musical.
Yeah. And the bigger thing, which I honestly don't know, was she the first choice, do you know, for the film?
I'm gonna say so, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, though.
I think it's very strange if she were the first choice, and I'm not 100% sure that she was, but if she was, I feel like that character doesn't look right for her voice. I don't know what it is.
I would agree.
I don't feel like it's a natural sound coming out of that character.
No, it's definitely she has a more mature voice than Elsa, who's supposed to be 21 at her coronation.
Yeah. It's
not a 20-year-old voice. It's a full grown female.
Yeah. Yeah, how old is Idina Menzel? I'm not even sure.
30s or 40s? She has to be.
Yeah, I was going to say 40s, but I hope I'm not insulting her. Not that she's listening to this, but in any case, at this point, she would have been insulted many times already. But, yeah, so I don't think that Let It Go is the song that should be pushed. I don't think it's the best performance. First Time in Forever for me. I'd even rather Fixer Upper.
No.
I said that.
That is my least favorite song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually said that just to get a rise out of you, because I knew that I would.
No, yeah. If anything I disliked about the movie, it'd be all the trolls. They're not my favorite whatsoever.
I agree. I really, 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 really wish that one of the trolls, that grandfather, head troll, I so wish that Mel Brooks had done the voice of that character. I think, I saw that character, and I don't know, he probably just reminded me of Yogurt from Spaceballs or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, God, if that were Mel Brooks, that would have been amazing casting. That would have been so much fun to see. But my least favorite song is definitely Love's an Open Door.
I love that song.
Okay, whether or not you love the song, here's the bigger question. Is it appropriate for that film?
Yes, I just think it's cool, spoiler alert, that there's a nice villain song. Like, it's
okay.
cool.
I just remember when I saw Frozen for the first time, when the song started, it just was like jarring to me. I was like, this doesn't feel like it's part of the same movie. It sounded like a boy band song, which I absolutely love boy band songs, but to me, it just sounded like a really pop song that didn't belong in that film.
It is a bit different from the other ones. The other ones are more like Broadway style. I agree.
Yeah.
But no, I still love the song in general.
Interesting. So we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens at the award season. But there's also a lot of talk about Frozen heading into the theme parks, considering its like insane amount of success.
Yes. I don't know if you know, but at Epcot, still the lines to meet Anna and Elsa are 2 to 3 hours.
Wow,
2 to 3 hours long.
I think I waited an hour to meet them at Disneyland. So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm assuming it's the same at Walt Disney World. The thing that I noticed is when I went to meet them, like they were spending a lot of time with each guest, like a lot of time, like really interacting and telling stories and whatever. And you know, there were these little kids in front of me, and so I figured, oh, that's super sweet. But then, like when I got to me and my two friends, all grown adults, they did the same thing. I thought they were going to be like, here, take a picture, see you later, let us get to the kids, which I honestly would have been totally fine with. But like they wanted to have this entire dialogue with me that I was like, oh, okay, we're going there, cool.
Yeah.
Is it the same way?
It's kind of the same. Like, there's definitely times where they do spend a lot of time with the guests and stuff, but I don't know if they've been pushing it quickly lately because of the wait times are getting that long, but
yeah, that's really long. And they're in Norway at Epcot, correct? And that's where they're talking about putting a Frozen attraction?
Yes, in place of Maelstrom, or maybe a redo of the Maelstrom boat ride.
Okay, here's my problem, if you want to call it that. The movie doesn't take place in Norway. I know that it was like designed after Norway, but it was a made-up kingdom, so I don't understand why they're putting it in Norway. Yeah,
well, it's a made-up kingdom in Norway.
I thought it was a made-up kingdom inspired by Norway.
No, I'm pretty sure they said it was in Norway. It's just a made-up place.
I hope that you're right, because that makes me a lot happier, if that's truly the case. At Disneyland, they're just in Fantasyland, and they kind of took over Rapunzel's tower, which is sad, because I miss Rapunzel.
Well, have you heard of the idea? I mean, everyone kind of knows that Rapunzel and Flynn were seen in the coronation, and the idea of there's now could possibly be a Disney crossover universe, similar to like Marvel.
Oh, interesting. Well, but Disney's kind of been doing that for a long time. I mean, if you go all the way back to Aladdin, and I'm sure prior, like you can see Sebastian from The Little Mermaid in Aladdin. So that's kind of been going on for a while. It's kind of dicey. I feel. Here's the thing. I'm really about continuity and things not contradicting each other. So, like, although I appreciate those little touches of, like insider Easter egg type things, there's always a part of me that's like, but that doesn't make sense. So maybe I'm just taking it a little bit too literally, but it does bother me sometimes.
I thought the Rapunzel thing made total sense. I mean, it's obviously after Tangled, because she has short blonde hair, or brown hair, sorry. And it could be their honeymoon, who knows? Be like, oh, Arendelle, let's go. I heard their summers are great. Let's go honeymooning.
Well, they were in for a mean surprise there, huh? Oh, man, that's kind of funny. That makes me like it more. So we've got the Norway attraction in Epcot that they're talking about. There's also, now I had heard rumors about over at Disney California Adventure that they were going to replace the Aladdin stage show with a Frozen stage show. My question is, was that just kind of rumor flying around that ended up becoming the Broadway show? Because they've officially announced that it's going to be going to Broadway. So I'm curious if that whole DCA rumor thing is true or not. Personally, I hope it is, because Aladdin needs to retire, especially that it's opening on Broadway next month.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's still, in terms of the Disney California Adventure being in the theme parks, I still think it's a rumor, but I agree. I hope it comes true.
Yeah, well, you've seen Aladdin, right?
Broadway, they said it's going to still take a while before we see anything, but in the parks, I think they could rush it more. Yeah.
You've seen the Aladdin Show, correct?
Yes.
I remember first time seeing it, like, loving it. This was a long time ago. Really, really loving it. And now I've just kind of grown tired of it. It's, like, really well produced, of course. It's just a need for a change, especially at the point, it got to a point where there was that whole flying carpet mishap, shall we say. And then for a long time, there was no flying carpet. Because they just didn't, it was, I'm sure, like OSHA was breathing down their necks and forcing them not to use it. And from what I hear, I haven't seen it, but I hear the flying carpet is back now. But for a long time, there's no flying carpet, so they were singing A Whole New World, and you couldn't see Jasmine or Aladdin. It was very strange. Yeah. Oh, good. Nice.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
well,
so that
funny
was...
story is, I think even... for the Broadway previews in Toronto over, like, 2 months ago, they had a problem with their flying carpet. Like, on the first day.
Oh, really? I'm sure that... It's one of those things, though, like, when you have such a major set piece or effect like that, I mean, really is an extremely important part of the story. It's like, does the show go on without that? I know when Chitty Chitty Bang Bang goes on tour, if the flying car doesn't work, they cancel the show. And that's like a huge deal to think you're losing that many, tickets sold that night because the special effect isn't working.
Yeah.
It's kind of dicey and scary. Like, I don't know. I'd be scared if I were the producer of a show like that, where if the carpet doesn't fly, like, I wonder what their backup plan is. Although I have seen it happen in Wicked where Elphaba doesn't fly during Defying Gravity. And that's always interesting. I'm like,
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's kind of like, didn't we just lose the purpose of the song?
So now we'll get a Frozen Broadway show. Elsa will start spraying snow everywhere, but the snow machine won't work or something.
Yeah, I sincerely hope they don't consider Idina Menzel for the Broadway show. I don't think that would be a smart move by any means.
Normally they don't.
My whole thing, I feel like if it did happen... If they even approached her, I feel like she would say, in order for me to do this, Elsa needs to have a bigger role. Because she's a pretty small part of the film. I mean, it's Anna's story.
Exactly.
So, I don't know if she would even accept it.
Well, who knows how fast they want or are going to move with it, but she's just opening her own show like this in a couple months, so...
Oh, Idina is?
Yeah.
What show is it?
It's called If Then.
Oh, a new musical?
Yeah.
It's not a revival?
Nope.
Oh, I love hearing about new musicals. That's great.
Yeah.
Yay, Broadway.
Okay, so now the question is, Pixar has been slowly going on this sequel binge. Yes. And Disney Animation has never put a sequel in theaters, I would say.
Okay, yes.
Would you see a Frozen 2?
No. I have avoided most of the Disney sequels. I have seen several of them. They're not always terrible. Well, the bigger problem I have is when they make sequels to stuff that Walt Disney worked on. Like when they make sequels to Cinderella and like all those old classics that Walt Disney worked on. I'm like, no. You don't touch that stuff. That's classic.
Yeah.
Disney. Like, it's just not cool to do that. And one of the best things that I think happened is when John Lasseter took over Disney Animation, they even had trailers on some of the, like the videos that they were selling at the time for stuff like Dumbo 2 and the stuff, it never came into realization. So these trailers exist, but the film never got finished because Lasseter was like, no, we're not making sequels to the classic Disney films, which I completely and wholeheartedly agree with. I kind of wish he would take the same approach with Pixar, although I love all three Toy Story films. Other than that, I don't really want to deal with the sequels. I saw Monsters University. I thought it was okay. I think it's kind of a learning lesson, the fact that Monsters University was not nominated for an Oscar. Like, that's kind of a big slap in the face, especially when you see some of the other animated films that were nominated. Mm-hmm. Not going to mention any, but that's like kind of... Is that the first time Pixar has had a movie out that it hasn't been nominated even?
I mean, it's been a while, I would say.
That's crazy. Although, actually, wasn't even like Cars 2 nominated?
I hope not.
I think it may have been. So yeah, that's that. I don't know. Would you see a Frozen 2?
I would see a Frozen 2, and here's my reasoning.
You love Frozen.
I do. But I also have some good reasonings. Like the other past Disney films, they all end in like a happily ever after, girl finds boy, they fall in love, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. This one it ends like that, but I still think there's some questions left unanswered, especially how you said that Elsa wasn't in it a lot. I'd be so down to see an Elsa and Anna adventure now that they're sisterly together again, or something like that. I'll
tell you what probably will happen. I am assuming that this upcoming Christmas of 2014, we will probably see a TV special featuring Olaf. That is my guess.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they did... last year they did Toy Story of Terror for Halloween, and I feel like I just recently heard about another TV special. I can't remember which franchise it was featuring.
I think it's Toy Story again.
Was it Toy Story?
It's a Christmas one. I think it's Toy Story.
Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar. I remember reading something about that, but I would be surprised if we don't see Olaf returning, which honestly became a character I really liked, because initially when I was introduced to Olaf at the D23 Expo last year,
everyone hated him.
I wasn't sold on the character.
No, everyone
really
thought he was going to be annoying.
Yeah, I think part of the appeal of him, and this is going to sound weird, but is the fact that he doesn't really get introduced till halfway through the movie. I think if he were there the entire time, he would be very annoying. But he has some great laugh out loud moments, and overall I really like him, and I like Josh Gad's performance, and, you know, his song is a good song, so I was pleasantly surprised by Olaf.
Frozen overall out of 10.
Out of 10, I would give it like 7.5 or 8. I do prefer Tangled.
Okay.
But my whole... you can't, for me, like, Alan Menken is a god. And although I love Bobby Lopez and love all of his work, like, I was obsessed with Avenue Q. I love Finding Nemo the musical. And I really like Frozen. I think I prefer Tangled.
I prefer Frozen. And I will give it a 9.
A 9?
Yes.
Wow, what would you give Tangled?
Tangled's probably an 8.
Okay. But here's my question. Do you kind of feel like Disney Animation is having its second renaissance now? I'm not sure that you remember the first renaissance, because you were probably
I was
like
born
way too young.
in the midst of the first renaissance.
Yeah. So you never... have you experienced like Mermaid, Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast in theaters ever? Or has it only been home video for you?
I want to say I saw some I don't know which ones.
Okay. But, so you really weren't... So then here's really the question, because I've been thinking about this. I'm like, I kind of feel like Disney is in this second animation renaissance.
Yeah.
But for me, it doesn't feel as amazing or magical as the one that we had from 1989 to 1994. Like, that was above and beyond insanely amazing. And I'm wondering if that's because that I was just like the perfect age at that time, so it'll just never compare to anything else for me, or if you know, if it actually is better. I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, those were classics. I mean, you can't beat that original renaissance of Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
But it's definitely hit that caliber this time around.
The interesting thing is, though, like, they have, because back in the original Renaissance, I mean, in order, they had Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, which, those are 4 huge movies. I think, like, Rescuers Down Under was in between there somewhere, which was kind of a throwaway flop.
Yeah.
But, like, other than that, those 4 were huge. But now we have Tangled, and since Tangled, we have stuff like Wreck-It Ralph. Mm-hmm. Which kind of gets forgotten.
Yeah,
and so, like,
I mean, I wouldn't classify it as like it wasn't a Disney musical.
Yeah, so that's the thing that's a little different, I think, about this Renaissance, is we have, like, I think Tangled and Frozen, two brilliant films that will become classics on their own, but then there's kind of like the stuff in there that isn't so classic. Yeah. So it is interesting. But, okay, so you would agree, even though you weren't really around for the first Renaissance.
Oh, yeah, those movies were amazing.
Yeah, Little Mermaid.
Maybe, I feel like they're switching, Pixar and Disney Animation are switching back. Like, Disney Animation had its time, Pixar took the 2000 era. Now I think Disney Animation is taking that back.
Yeah, I
mean,
hope
the last three Pixar movies were MU, Cars 2, and Brave. I mean, I liked Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, and Frozen better.
Yes, completely agree. Finding Dory should be interesting. We'll see what happens with that.
Hopefully. I mean, Finding Nemo is one of my favorite Pixar films, so...
Agreed. It's really, really good.
We'll see what happens.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's move on to Saving Mr. Banks, then, shall we? A film that was completely snubbed by the Oscars, except for a nomination for Best Score.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think?
I think Emma Thompson was robbed completely blind.
Agreed.
Like, she carried that movie. Like, they did the marketing campaign against Tom Hanks being Walt Disney and everything, but once I finished the movie, Emma Thompson was just the ideal person for that film.
Yeah, I think when I initially read it a few years ago, I think I had heard rumors, or maybe it was just my wishful thinking, that Meryl Streep was going to be playing P.L. Travers. But thankfully she didn't, considering how she feels about good old Uncle Walt. Yeah. But no, when I had read that, I was kind of like disappointed when I heard Emma Thompson was going to be playing the role, because I wanted Meryl Streep to do it. But I have to say, I was really, really, I liked Emma Thompson's performance a lot, even more so than Tom Hanks, which I think that's a big question. What did you think of Tom Hanks's performance? Which I liked, by the way. I don't think it was nomination worthy. And
no, not at all. I mean, I think he pulled off Disney the best he could.
Yeah, he got robbed for Captain Phillips, by the way. Should have been nominated for that. But yeah, I kept thinking about Walt Disney and who would play him, and initially when I heard Tom Hanks was going to be playing him, I thought I was actually going to like really, really hate it. I was like, nobody can play Walt, and I was kind of upset about it. But then I liked him in the role in this film. If it had been a biopic about Walt Disney, I would have had major issues with that. I personally feel like if they ever do make a biopic of Walt, and they should at some point, it should be a completely unknown actor. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about that. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. I mean, if it had been, I think that's what they kind of marketed it as. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be a story about Walt Disney when it was a story about P.L. Travers.
I know some people who are pissed off that they didn't market it about Colin Farrell.
Well, people he was amazing.
People really liked his performance, and they're like, he's barely in the trailer. Yeah. Like, what's going on? I thought the backstory stuff was interesting. I think overall it's a really, really interesting story.
Surprisingly, I actually like this movie more than I like Mary Poppins.
Oh, completely agree.
Weird.
I think, for me, it totally makes sense. Here's the thing, and I know that this is like blasphemy for some people listening, but I have never been a huge Mary Poppins fan. I have tried to. I have given it so many chances. I undoubtedly love the music. The Sherman Brothers score is amazing. No question about it. But for me, it's always been... I have the same issue with Mary Poppins as I do with Alice in Wonderland, where, the Walt Disney Company, one of the best storytellers of all time. I feel like those two films, the through line is like very weak, in my opinion. I feel like it's like a lot of little different vignettes, and you hop from one little thing to another, to another, to another. And I'll get this like through line. It's just not super strong. And I feel like, I mean, the books were written that way, so I get it. But for me, that's why it's never been like a classic, in my opinion, as well as the fact that, I mean, and I'm basing this on today's, mentality of people not having an attention span, but it's a long movie for a kid movie musical. It's like over 2 hours. And there are definitely sequences in that film where I'm like, okay, let's move it along. And I figured I would give it one more chance, Mary Poppins. The week after I saw Saving Mr. Banks, they were showing it at the TCL Chinese theaters in Hollywood. And Dick Van Dyke was there, and Dick Sherman was there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna sit in one of the greatest movie theaters of all time and watch this movie, and if I don't love it now, I'm never gonna love it. And I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, as soon as I finished Saving Mr. Banks, it made me want to watch Mary Poppins, but then I was like, wait, I don't even like Mary Poppins that much. That's how powerful I think this movie was.
Agreed. Actually, I remember my dad said right after he saw Saving Mr. Banks, he's like, I've never seen Mary Poppins, and now I really want to.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I know people who absolutely love Mary Poppins, like one of their absolute favorite films, and they're a little disappointed because they feel like they'll never be able to look at Mary Poppins the same way again. Like, when you initially see it, you don't think any of that dark backstory or anything. But if you look at it through the Saving Mr. Banks glasses, it's very different.
Yeah, it's a business.
Yeah, it might have jaded it for some original fans of the film. I personally feel like Saving Mr. Banks was, although I love the title because I understand it, I feel like a lot of people were kind of clueless to this movie.
It could be quite confusing if you didn't already know what it was.
Yeah, I also think and I even think you can't even describe, I think, a lot of people throw around, it's the making of Mary Poppins. And I'm like, not really. It's about a 2-week time period, of which most of the time, I believe, Walt Disney was actually down in Palm Springs to avoid P.L. Travers. So it was really Dick and Bob Sherman and, oh goodness, I'm forgetting the other man's name. Who wrote it? Who wrote Mary Poppins? Don DeGrade? Am I saying the right name? I can't even remember. Yeah. It was them dealing with her most of the time. Saving Mr. Banks did have some, crying moments for me.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it the first time, and the moment where, I kind of lost it was when the Let's Go Fly a Kite scene.
Yeah.
And I kind of actually thought to myself, this is like I thought I was having an abnormal response to it because it's kind of such a happy scene, but for some reason I got really emotional during it. And I actually had flashbacks to the D23 Expo when they ended the whole movie
presentation.
The presentation, thank you, with the whole Let's Go Fly a Kite thing and all the costume people come out and Dick Sherman's there. It kind of brought me back to that. So I felt like that is what was making me emotional. But then I talked to a lot of people and everybody is like, no, that's the moment. And even some of the actors involved in the film have said that's the moment in the film where I lose it. And I find that very interesting. I don't really, but it happened to you as well, it sounds like.
I mean, I didn't cry, but it's definitely one of those moments.
Yeah, totally a teary-eye moment. It's so good. And the other moment that I absolutely love in the film is when Walt is talking about, how Mickey Mouse is family to him and how he didn't think she was going to give up Mary Poppins because
he wouldn't have gave up Mickey. Yeah,
I thought that was a great, great, great moment in the film. It's a great movie. It's a really good movie.
Gave up Oswald.
Well, that was stolen from him. He didn't give it up. But they got it back. Maybe that may be one of the best things Bob Iger did, was getting back Oswald.
One of the characters I really liked in the movie was actually Paul Giamatti's character, who was the limo driver.
Yes, which is a fake person, which is so upsetting.
But
yes,
the scene where he starts talking about his daughter who's handicapped, and she gives him a list of people who are also handicapped who did great things. And she included Walt Disney as one of them.
Yeah,
it was ADD.
Yeah, that was a really great moment, but I do remember finding out that character is completely fictitious and being disappointed by that fact. I was like, aw. Let's face it, it's a movie. There are definitely creative liberties taken.
Oh, yeah.
I would have loved to have been in the room when the whole scene at the end between Walt and P.L. Travers, when he's convincing her finally to sell. I would have loved to have actually been in the real room because I don't think that it was that, peaceful, shall we say.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was more like, you're broke, you need money, I got money, let's do this. So I always thought that was pretty funny. But before we end today's show with our little trivia, is there anything else you want to say about Saving Mr. Banks or Frozen before we try and stump each other?
Both great movies, ended up in my top 5 for the entire year.
It's impressive.
Yeah. So I think if anyone hasn't seen them yet, even if you're not a Disney fan, I think they're really worth checking out.
Especially Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah.
If you're not a Disney fan, you're not going to like Frozen.
Speaking of, did you find it? A lot of people didn't like to advertise his smoking habits, but they had that one
scene where
she runs in and he puts out the cigarette real fast.
Yes. What about it?
A little interesting.
Oh.
I'm glad they kept that in there, though.
Yeah, I mean, if it were a reality, they kept his smoker's cough in there a lot, which, but like I said, like, it's not his story. And he's in, really, I don't know. I would be curious to go back and count the minutes that Walt Disney is in the film, because it's not a ton. So, I don't know. It's a good movie.
Your thoughts?
I love them. Saving Mr. Banks was definitely one of my favorite films of the year, as was Frozen. I really like Frozen. I just wish more people were seeing Saving Mr. Banks, and I wish it was being recognized. And I know that the awards really mean nothing in the long run, and it's all political and stuff, but I don't know. I can't help but feel like it should have been nominated for Best Picture. Even if it didn't win, it should have been nominated, and Emma Thompson was robbed of a nomination,
yeah,
I feel.
Definitely that I agree with.
Bummer. Anywho, Patrick, would you like to try and stump me right now?
Yes, I have a trivia question for you.
I know, you're very excited about this one.
I am very excited because I just learned about it a couple of days ago. So, there is a horse on the Regal Carousel that is supposed to be behind the Magic Kingdom Castle.
Are we talking Walt Disney World or Disneyland?
I think both.
Okay.
In general. And, they're supposed to be Cinderella's horse on the carousel.
Okay.
And, do you know what the identifying factor for Cinderella's horse is on the carousel?
I know that this is wrong, but I would love it if the horse were wearing a glass slipper or a glass hoof. That would be amazing. Let me think. So that means it would have been one of the mice turned into the horse, if it's one of Cinderella's horses, right?
I assume so.
So maybe it's one of like the little hats that the mice wore in Cinderella. I don't know.
Okay, so it's actually a common misconception trick. There's actually, most people think there's a horse with a gold bow on its tail. Mm-hmm. When in reality, I actually talked to Imagineer, and Cinderella's horse is not on the carousel at all.
So you just basically gave me a question that I couldn't answer correctly.
Correct.
That's such a cheap shot, and I don't give you a point for that.
I give myself a point.
No, negative
me,
points.
0 you.
No, you lose. So wait a sec. So Cinderella's horse is not. First of all, I'd never even heard the story that Cinderella's horse were on the carousels.
Yeah, I don't know if someone just made it up or just started the rumor.
Up.
Oh yeah, me.
You started the rumor.
But apparently, a lot of people think that this gold bowed horse is Cinderella's horse.
So what is the gold bow?
But it's just nothing, just there.
That is a terrible trivia question.
No, it's not.
No, it's terrible. I've got a question for you. Okay, so in Liberty Square at Walt Disney World, if you look at the shutters on the window shutters on the buildings in Liberty Square, they're all hanging at a slight angle. Do you have any idea why that is?
Because they're super old.
No. Because back in the colonial days, the metal was very valuable. So instead of using metal, they used to use leather straps to tie on their shutters. And because of that, over time, the leather would get worn, and the shutters would hang at an angle, and that is why. You learn something new. You'll have to look at that the next time you're in the Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I think that's all we got for you this week, guys. So keep listening, and we will be back next time. And Patrick, I will see you soon.
Yes.
And have a fabulous, fabulous day.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.